Hey everybody, welcome to the program WRSA Radio. I am your host, Grenadier One. Hope you're all having a wonderful trip through the continuing collapse of the former United States. Just keeps getting worse, does it not? So this week I want to get the back to kind of a higher level of conversation because there are some concepts that I think we need to cover. Last week I titled the show The End of the Beginning. Well, that means that we are now in the body of the story. We're seeing the narrative more clearly and we recognize more about the plot and how this is going to play out. And if we kind of continue that novel analogy, there'll come a moment of crisis that everything focuses on, and then the entire frame of reference will shift. Whether there's a resolution to this whole thing will be determined by if there's a sequel in the works or not. If the whole thing wraps up in one book, then then it'll all be over, and if not, there'll be a lot of unresolved items. Now life is not a book, so this is not gonna tie up all nicely at the end, but we're building and building as days go by to a point of crisis. Like I said, there's no doubt of that. What is left to decide is what that point is going to look like. Is it going to be something that is done to us or something that is done by us? Kind of like, are we the stars of the show or not? So, and that's honestly up to us. I think. I think we're at the point in time where actions need to be undertaken to demonstrate that this is unsustainable. We cannot continue to allow, the narrative to be driven by the enemy, and we cannot continue to allow them to dictate the initiative to us. Something has got to happen. And I believe we are seeing examples of how the narrative is being played out in Australia. If you've not been paying attention to how things are developing over there, this is very disturbing. They've virtually imprisoned their entire country in their own homes. They've been on lockdown over there for many weeks in some areas of the country, and they've implemented a system of neighbors snitching on neighbors to turn in people who are not following the strict lockdown requirements. And not only is that happening, but recently they ran a mass vax event for children, and reports are that there were children that didn't fare well in that event. They had reactions, and I've heard, although it's unconfirmed at this point, so take it for what it is, that one child actually died from those reactions. And like I said, it's unconfirmed, so it's a rumor, but it does not sound inconsistent with things we know to be true. So until I see some information that definitively disproves that, I'm gonna bring it out there because I think it's important. There was another situation where they shot shelter animals, shelter dogs, to prevent people from coming and picking them up, which just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But this is the state of madness that we are in. And this is, of course, following in the footsteps of New Zealand, which locked their whole country down for a single case of coof. Now, this is the blueprint that is going to be implemented for the entire Western world, I believe, going forward. At random times, our whole society must come to a screeching halt and go on lockdown because some people got sick. Even one case, in New Zealand, which is just, that's madness. It's madness. And in the meantime, the Taliban have been living in caves with no masks and no TV or internet, and have somehow managed to get along without the coof ravaging through their forces, which I find funny how that works. When we look back through history, really up until World War II, we would see pretty consistently when armies were in the field that more men would often die from disease than from combat. It didn't happen every time, but you would see this a lot. But yet we do not see this specific illness running rampant through these guerrilla armies around the world. Why is that? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm just throwing it out there for people to contemplate. Now, the people in Australia are pushing back on this. They've been demonstrating and resisting and fighting back, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to see, and I'm glad to see it. But the narrative that they are running on us is that we must give up more and more of our freedom for the greater good. And we know this is their mantra. They've been saying this forever. That's not really a surprise. We're all supposed to give for the greater good. But I think people with this pandemic situation, this is taking advantage of people's goodwill and their compassion and their desire to be seen as a good person. It's far more difficult to get people to just willingly give up so much just because government functionaries say so. The heavy-handed approach that they would take, of course, involves the use of force outright from the beginning. With this situation, this is making this into an emotional dilemma, and people are far more likely to willingly walk into that. As an example of this, the other day I had a normie on social media post a long rant about people who refuse to get jabbed. Now, I've been very clear on this show that I will not get the vax. However, I have also said that I'm not telling anyone that they should not get it. I have friends and family that have gotten it, and that is their decision. It's on them, and I would not tell them one way or another what medication they should be taking. I expect the same in return. I expect that people will allow me and my doctors to make the medical decisions that I think are best for me and my family. Now, that being said, I don't disclose that kind of information on social media. I don't tell people that I'm not taking the vax. And so this person had no idea what I thought about that situation. And I didn't make any comments on her post, but I found the post to just be mind-numbingly arrogant and selfish. And the irony of all of it is that what she was accusing anti-vax people of being was selfish. Her whole rant was centered on the idea that if you refused to take the medication, that you were selfish and not looking out for other people. And her situation is that her daughter is immunocompromised and she can't take the vaccine. So this woman is understandably worried about her daughter, and I get that. And she's terrified that she herself will get sick and bring it into the house and give it to her daughter, get her daughter sick. And I get that. That's a terrible situation. But quite honestly, that situation existed prior to COVID. Okay, if she could bring the flu into somebody who is immunocompromised, then it can have the exact same kind of risk involved. The problem is that you can't even see that it is in fact on you who are selfishly taking the position that your daughter's life is more important than mine is. Okay, I understand that, and I'm not suggesting that you should think otherwise. What I am in absolute opposition to is the idea that you would use the police power of government to force me to take a medication which may kill me in order to protect your daughter. You don't get to do that, okay? You have no claim on my life. You have no responsibility to my family for the loss were I to die from taking this medication. Who will take care of them if I die? What if my family dies? What if it makes my son infertile and I can't have grandchildren because you wanted to force me to take this medication? Again, you don't get to do that. And I'm fine with you taking the vax if you want. Like I said, that's on you. But you don't have a right to force someone else to take it. And this is why we put these medications through such a long trial period. We have to make sure that there are no long-term or serious side effects. It's a very different equation if the risk involved with taking the shots are well known and long proven and understood. If we know that it's almost 100% safe and just as importantly, highly effective and long lasting, then the burden on someone, being told that they have to take medication, otherwise they can't participate in, public school, for example, then that burden is significantly reduced, okay? And it's much more acceptable and much more understandable. It's along the lines of, here, take this vitamin and, everybody will be okay. But that's not where we're at right now. The risk is considerable. The medication is unproven. The effectiveness is short term, and it does not seem to prevent you from getting the illness it's supposed to control. That's not really even a seem. That's absolute, 100%. It doesn't protect you as much as they're saying that it does. Well, that's a hard no from me. And I don't give two shakes about how it makes you feel. You can get pissed off all you want. To this lady on my social media, your daughter and I are taking the same risks. We might get it, and if we get it, we might have a serious result from it. But our risks are basically the same there. And that's all we can do. I think we all have to kind of resolve ourselves, just kind of come to the realization that this thing is going to be a part of our life from here on out. And we're just going to have to kind of get over it. And this ties back to that pushback in Australia and how it relates to us here. When we look around the world, we see very different responses from different nations. And in all honesty, none of them look to really change the outcomes all that much. The infections happen, they increase in cases, and they peak, and then they fall off and drop down to very low levels. And all that seems to happen is that the timing shifts depending on the measures that have been taken. So these draconian measures that have been put into place have no basis in anything but feels. It's the natural expression of the fear and uncertainty of this lady from social media. And I continue to call her that because I can almost guarantee that you know people like this. You know someone just like her, and you've seen people like her that express this same kind of sentiment. And that is what the government is playing on. That's the expression that they love to see. Fear and uncertainty are the currency used to buy infringements on liberty. And all of this coup situation, this collapse in Afghanistan, the border crisis, all these things is being done to create fear and uncertainty. Now, we can't openly talk about some of the actions that could be undertaken to put a stop to this. So I'll limit the rest of my conversation to things that we can more openly discuss. If they are actively working to spread fear and uncertainty, then it's within our capability and our area of influence to fight that fear and uncertainty, to have our own calming effect. And go back to that comment I made on a few episodes ago about finding our courage. We can first stop being afraid. On a personal level, our time is going to come, and there's not much that we can do to influence how that happens. So stop worrying about it. It's the phrase memento mori, remember you are already dead. It's all just a matter of time and what your journey looks like. So let's stop worrying about that. Next, take a break from the news for a while, from the media. You're going to find that if you stop hearing them push this narrative, that on the ground, in the day-to-day reality, for most of us, life is getting back to normal. The other night I was at a meeting, organization that I'm in, and our higher leadership has given us instructions that we can continue to meet in person provided we all wear masks for the meetings. So I arrived at the meeting place and no one's wearing a mask. And when the meeting starts, everybody puts their mask on. And at the end of the meeting, our leader says, "Okay, meeting's over. Take the mask off." Now that's a small sample, I know, but it fits in with more and more what I'm seeing that people, at least in Georgia, are going back to living their normal day-to-day lives. And I think this is indicative of a wider shift in public sentiment. I think people have sent a message that we're tired of this. And that is the whole impetus behind the recent fear-mongering and variant creep that's taking place. So keep pushing back on their message. Keep posting every time you see someone with successful alternative treatments, I will say. Every time you see so-called science changing its positions, science that supports those alternatives, point to that. That information needs to be shared. Make sure it's good, solid sources, though, okay? Say no every time they push to restrict a right that you have. Challenge it and push back on them. Draw the line and say, no more. We're done with this. We have to push back on them and get them on their heels before we can drive them back and rid ourselves of them. These people are not flawless. They are not without a long history of lying to us. They are lying to us in our face about what's going on in Afghanistan. The more and more people that awake to those facts, the less they fear and the less they are uncertain. Things shape up and form up, and the future becomes a lot more less cloudy. I very often speak against misinformation and spreading rumors and things like that. And I don't think it serves us much purpose to do that. So something else you can do to fight them is to not spread unfounded stories or examples of things that are maybe too anecdotal. It's too easy for the other side to dismiss that and use it against us. So those things that you see go viral or whatnot, maybe it's fine to read those. Don't get me wrong, and probably fine to tell your close people about it, but I wouldn't necessarily blast it all over social media. It's good to tell people though what you're seeing in your area because especially if it's counter to that narrative, because we don't often get a good glimpse into other places that we're not familiar with or we're not traveling to. We don't know people from that area. So I think the firsthand accounts are good types of information to spread. I see people talking about shortages at grocery stores and things like that. I think that's good information to spread. But you know what I'm talking about, the really unfounded internet posts and articles and things like that. So just try to avoid spreading garbage that they can easily attack and use to discredit us. We will know we are making progress on this when we see more and more of those normies begin to question the current approved facts about these situations. The more they protest and try to prop up the official narrative, the more you know that it's eating inside of them, that they fear that they're wrong and they've been wrong this whole time. So when you see these normies, on social media kind of floundering to fight these alternative media ideas, the more you know that they're unsure, they're uncertain, and they fear. So keep doing what you're doing, because I already see cracks forming, and I think we're just a matter of time before this whole rotten house of shit comes tumbling down. And that'll be that critical moment I was alluding to earlier. It will become more apparent in the coming weeks that everything's a lie, and it's been alive for a long time. What we are seeing in Australia and parts of Europe will come to the US in greater and greater frequency and numbers. More people in the streets at the state capitals pushing back on these mandates and restrictions. More people recognizing what is being done to them. I think more and more people are done. They're done with this whole thing, and it's only a matter of time before the backlash happens. If you don't take anything more from this episode, take the following, okay? This all comes down to our desire for freedom and our will to resist. There's a lot of chaff in the day-to-day news feeds that gets you angry, and it drains your energy, and it's part of the greater fight, of course, but it's mostly just designed to wear you down. So don't give in. Keep your eye on the ball. We are at a point that it will be easy to give in, but we have to just hold out and keep pushing back on them. Now, we all know it's going to get hot before it's over, but right now we just have to keep resisting. And we have to be very, very careful, because not only are we recognizing it, we can see what's happening, but the people doing this to us, they can recognize it too. They can see that what they're trying is not working, and that means they're very, very dangerous right now. They are seeing the world shrink in on them. So be prepared for more craziness, more outrageous things to happen. And that's all I got time for today, folks. Like and subscribe. Come see us over on Gab and the Mothership. And I will see you on the next episode.